They tell you Egypt is ancient, a land of pyramids, pharaohs, and golden masks buried in silence. But what if I told you that's not the Egypt people actually live in? Because beyond the monuments, beyond the stories carved in stone, there's another Egypt, one that's louder, messier, more human. A place where history doesn't just exist in the past. It lives alongside the present. And the deeper you look, the more you realize Egypt isn't what you think it is. It's as if Egypt is constantly reminding us there are things we still don't understand. And maybe we never will. Egypt isn't just old, it's unresolved. In 2017, scientists pointed cosmic ray detectors at the Great Pyramid of Giza and found something no one had seen in 4,500 years. A hidden void, sitting above the Grand Gallery, at least 30 meters long, the size of a small aircraft. Nobody knew it was there. They confirmed it using subatomic particles called muons, which rain down from space and pass through solid stone the way X-rays pass through skin. Where more of them got through than expected. That meant empty space, hidden space. Then, in 2023, the same team found a second discovery, a 9-meter corridor tucked behind the north face of the pyramid, 2 meters wide, 2 meters tall. Scientists inserted a tiny camera through a crack in the stone. What did they find inside? Nothing. Just empty space. No treasure, no inscription, no answer. And that's just inside the pyramids. Across Egypt, archaeologists estimate that the majority of what lies beneath the sand has never been excavated. In 2022, a team discovered 250 sealed coffins near Saqqara, still intact, still holding people who haven't seen daylight since the age of the pharaohs. Egypt isn't hiding its past. It's still producing it. But Egypt is not just mystery. It's survival. And at the center of it all, the Nile. Egypt is over 95% desert. Without the Nile, nothing grows. Nothing survives. Every year, monsoon rains in the Ethiopian highlands cause the Blue Nile to surge north into Egypt, flooding the banks and depositing rich, dark silt across the land. The ancient Egyptians named their country after it. They called it Kemet, the Black Land. They didn't just wait for the water. They engineered around it. Basins, canals, irrigation systems, growing wheat, barley, and flax. By the time of Roman rule, Egypt had become one of the most significant sources of wheat in the entire Roman Empire, a civilization built in the Sahara, feeding the ancient world. Their entire calendar revolved around the Nile. 3 seasons, the flood, the planting, the harvest. They even worshipped it, a god called Hapi, blue-skinned and draped in lotus flowers. And if the Nile failed to flood, famine, drought, revolt, the prosperity of millions, decided by one river. Step away from the pyramids, and everything changes. Welcome to Cairo, over 22 million people, the largest city in Africa. 95% of residents packed into just 5% of the land. Cars honking constantly. Not out of anger, that's just how people navigate. Vendors calling out. The smell of grilled meat drifting through the alleys. And somewhere, always, the call to prayer cutting through the noise. This is the Egypt that doesn't make it into documentaries. Just 70 years ago, Cairo had only 2 million people. Today it's a city that never stops moving. Highways built over medieval alleys, glass towers standing next to crumbling Ottoman buildings. And in the middle of it all, the Khan el-Khalili Bazaar, operating continuously since the 14th century, where spices are still weighed by hand, while the stall next to it sells phone cases and earbuds. Chaotic, loud, overwhelming, but completely, undeniably real. What makes Egypt truly unique is the contrast, not just visually, philosophically. You can stand at the foot of the Step Pyramid of Saqqara, the oldest stone structure ever built by human hands, and watch a farmer herd goats past it on his way home. The pyramid has stood for 4,600 years. The farmer barely looks up. In Luxor, locals park motorcycles outside temples that were already ancient when the Roman Empire began. In Giza, families spread picnic blankets in the shadow of the only surviving wonder of the ancient world. The past isn't preserved behind glass here. It's woven into daily life. And that creates something rare. A country that doesn't just remember history, it lives inside it. Ancient stone and modern noise. A river that built a civilization. A city that refuses to stop growing. And somehow, incredibly, it all coexists on the same soil, along the same river, under the same relentless sun. To understand Egypt, you have to understand the pharaohs. They weren't just rulers. They were believed to be gods. The pharaoh was the bridge between people and the divine, keeping cosmic order, sustaining the gods, holding chaos at bay. His power wasn't just political. It was spiritual, absolute, unquestioned. And their greatest obsession? The afterlife. Death wasn't the end. It was a transition. So they prepared for it with everything they had. Tombs filled with gold, food, jewelry. The Book of the Dead placed inside coffins to guide the soul. A full-sized boat buried beside the Pyramid of Khufu. So the pharaoh could sail into the underworld like the sun god Ra. And one final test, the weighing of the heart. Your soul judged against the feather of Ma'at, goddess of truth. Pass, eternal life. Fail, you cease to exist. The pyramids weren't just monuments, they were gateways to eternity. But Egypt isn't just kings and monuments, it's people. Warm, welcoming, resilient. Hospitality here isn't a courtesy, it's a value. You don't just visit Egypt, you're invited into it. Meals are shared, tea is offered, strangers become guests almost immediately. That's not performance, that's culture. And at the center of that culture, one dish. Like any country, Egypt has challenges. Economic pressure, overcrowding, the tension between ancient identity and modern demands. Cairo grows by over 1 million people every year. Not everything works. Not everything is shown. But that's part of the truth. Because real places aren't just highlights. They're contradictions. A farmer on a donkey cart beside a Porsche dealership. Nobel Prize-winning author Naguib Mahfouz writing masterpieces in a tiny Cairo cafe. Ancient temples inside cities that never stopped growing. Egypt is full of contradictions. And that's exactly what makes it real. Why Egypt still matters. So why does Egypt still capture the world's attention? Because it connects us to something deeper. A civilization that looked at one of the harshest deserts on Earth and built something magnificent anyway. They ask questions we still haven't answered. What is the soul? What happens after we die? How do we leave something behind that lasts? Thousands of years later, we're still standing in front of those pyramids. Still looking up. Still asking the same questions. That's not coincidence. That's continuity. Egypt proves that the search for meaning isn't modern. It's ancient. It's in us. Egypt is not just pyramids. It's not just history. It's a living story. In the call to prayer echoing off a minaret at dawn, in the old man serving tea outside a shop he's run for 40 years, in a child doing homework beside a wall painted 4,000 years ago. That's Egypt. The real Egypt isn't what you see in pictures. It's what you feel when you realize everything here existed long before you arrived, and will remain long after you leave. The weight of time doesn't crush this place. It holds it together. Egypt doesn't ask you to admire it from a distance. It asks you to look deeper,